Hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture session on Sources of International Law. I am Mohammad Rubat Rahman, lecturer of law of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Science and Technology University, Gopalganj. In the present lecture session, we'll discuss about the meaning of sources of international law, what are the sources of international law, and why the Article 38, Clause 1 of the Statute of International Court of Justice is considered as the complete statement about the sources of international law. Now, let's move on to the next slide to begin our discussion. Meaning of sources. We all know that international law doesn't have any legislature, executive, or any law enforcing structure of itself. However, international law does exist and it is considered as a real law. From that point of view, international law has sources. Here, sources means survey of process whereby rules of international law emerge. And the significance of sources from international law's perspective is that from sources, the rules of international law may be analyzed and extracted. Now, let's move on to the next slide. What are the sources of international law? Well, if we want to know about the complete and the most authoritative sources of international law, then we have to go through the provisions of Article 38, Clause 1 of the Statute of International Court of Justice. Here in the presentation slide, the word ICJ refers International Court of Justice. Now, let's see what Article 38, Clause 1 of the Statute of International Court of Justice refers about sources of international law. The provision actually refers four sources of international law. One is international convention, second one is international custom, third one is general principles of law, and the last sources of international law is judicial decisions and teachings. Well, many of you may ask question that why these sources that is enumerated in Article 38 Clause 1 of the Statute of International Court of Justice is considered as the most complete and authoritative statement regarding the sources of international law. Well, the reason is very simple. According to Article 93 of the UN Charter, all UN member states are the parties to the ICJ statute. Because of this fact, it refers that all UN member states are undoubtedly the members of the International Court of Justice. From that point of view, it can be deduced that there is no doubt as to the sources that are mentioned in Article 38 Clause 1 of the ICJ statute. I hope all of you who are willing to know about sources of international law have got some idea about sources of international law. This brings us to the end of our today's lecture session. Thank you all for kind listening.